What's up, everybody? This is Trip.
And I'm Jim.
And this is Dead Center, where we try to conversate, not constant hate, and get to the point. And today's point is Ilhan Omar. There is currently controversy surrounding the new Democratic House member. She retweeted a tweet from Glenn Greenwald on Sunday evening. And the tweet that he said was, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy threatens punishment for @Ilhan MN, because she's from Minnesota, and Rashida Tlaib over their criticisms of Israel. It's stunning how much time U.S. political leaders spend defending a foreign nation, even if it means attacking free speech rights of Americans. Now, she retweeted that and said it's all about the Benjamins, baby. I guess insinuating that the Israel lobby is the reason that GOP and corporate Democrats are all for everything Israel ever does. And then the editor for The Forward tweeted that she wonders where these people get the money from. And when Ilhan Omar retweeted it, she just retweeted AIPAC in all caps, which is an Israel lobbyist group.
Right.
And she received a lot of backlash over this. She was called anti-Semitic, and she, demanded apologies from people ranging from Nancy Pelosi to Donald Trump. A lot of corporate Democrats stood up against it. A lot of Republicans stood up against it. And I guess this conversation is going to be layered in that aspect. So just to start off, let's start with Ilhan Omar. She has heavy ties to Linda Sarsour.
Now, first of all, this is just the Minnesota Congresswoman.
Yes.
This is just her. Because the article that she retweeted included herself and the other new Muslim woman member of Congress, Tlaib, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
We might be
Tlaib.
We might be massacring these names, and
Correct.
I apologize for anyone out there.
So Ilhan Omar has ties to Linda Sarsour, who has been an open jihadist Muslim and who has given donations from the Muslim Brotherhood that's committed terrorist attacks in the Middle East and they've been a militant occupancy in the Middle East for since the 80s, mid 80s, a very long time. And on top of that, she's posted tweets in the past that Israel has hypnotized the world, and hopefully Allah will open the eyes of every American to see the crimes they've done, and just things along this line. She's in her office. There's pictures of her in her office with a big X on Israel, and Free Palestine under it. It's a lot. Just to sum it up, there's a lot pointing to her being anti-Semitic. She's obviously a Muslim, and that doesn't necessarily equate to her being anti-Semitic, but a lot of the more radical elements of Islamic ideology are very anti-Semitic.
Claiming that Israel as a nation has influenced American legislation and international relations, and possibly done that via economic influence, isn't a stretch.
Right.
By any means.
AIPAC is a lobby group, but to say that AIPAC is the reason the United States is gung-ho about Israel would just be factually incorrect. And I don't think that she's wrong for criticizing Israel. I just think that her point is moot.
Here's what I think. It's a smart thing to throw AIPAC out there like that, just because it's a domestic target. Versus, an international target, just keep throwing it directly at Israel, I guess. Because one of the things that this has led to is a presidential response. And that presidential response, while we can get to the fact that he called for her resignation.
Yeah, I had one more point I wanted to make about.
Go ahead, I apologize.
No, you're fine. The thing about Ilhan Omar, right? Because on its face, honestly, this doesn't. If anybody else had said it, other than maybe Donald Trump, I don't think anybody's calling it extremely anti-Semitic.
It's not anti-Semitic.
And it's not, right. It's not on its face an anti-Semitic statement, but you have to look at who it's coming from. And that's why I laid out her political ties, the people that she deals with, her past tweets. That's why people are looking at it and looking at the things she said in the past and saying, okay, this is a pattern. You need to stop. And that's where it's kind of like Donald Trump whenever he talks about Muslims or whenever he talks about immigration. Even if he makes a point that is factually correct, everybody says, shut up because you're a racist. It's the same kind of thing with corporate Democrats and Republicans looking at Ilhan Omar. She may not be anti-Semitic in her statement, but because of who she's been in the past, because of the people she has ties to, everybody looks at this as it's an anti-Semitic statement, and it's a further trope, which isn't right at all. But moving past Ilhan Omar, I would like to talk about, you were bringing up Donald Trump a minute ago. I think it's very, very funny that Donald Trump, 2 weeks ago, when Steve King was bashed over the head by the Republican and Democratic Party for saying, I have no idea why white supremacist is an offensive term, Donald Trump was absolutely silent about that. Anytime he's ever been racist, he's absolutely silent. He either doubles down and says, you don't know what or I don't know what you're talking about, or, he just doesn't care blatantly. But when Ilhan Omar comes out and says this, he has everything to say about it. You should resign. You should be cut from the Foreign Affairs Committee. Like, all this to say about why? Because it's a Democrat. And I think it just shows the continuation of the hypocrisy into the next 2 years of his presidency.
The one concern I have is that this is a continuation of hate versus hate. I'm just going to throw that out there. I think that's just one thing that everyone kind of just doesn't like to see. The hypocrisy might go much farther than just Donald Trump and King and Omar. I mean, there's a big hypocrisy as far as international relations in this country,
right,
with Israel or Saudi Arabia or...
Well, the reason she's factually incorrect is because, the NRA, big pharma, like, you could name 5 lobbyists off the top of the dome that are way more influential than AIPAC. The big thing about Israel is we do lots of weapons deals with them. They are our biggest foothold in the Middle East. They have the same interest in minds of dividing and conquering to get oil. We back them 1,000% because of this. They make us tons of money, and we support everything they do.
Would you not call that economic influence, though?
I would, but it's not AIPAC. That's why I said she's wrong.
Okay.
But
the all about the Benjamins part.
Right. The all about the Benjamins part was right, but then she didn't say what we just said. She said AIPAC.
But as I said earlier, it's it's a domestic target.
Right.
And it was trying to take swings internationally while
maybe
on the
she
Foreign
should take
Affairs
swings.
Committee.
Look, man,
You can't take big swings at Israel while sitting on a Foreign Affairs Committee. You're going to shake too many.
You know what? Cages need to be shook. Israel is committing atrocities in their nation, and we're turning a blind eye to it. The people on the West Bank are trapped. They cannot leave. All these Republicans who say they should just leave, they can't. They're being watched by armed guards who are aimed to kill. These armed guards literally have T-shirts. You can look this up. There's a pregnant woman in the scope, and it says 1 shot, 2 kills. And that's something that the civilians laugh at. There's videos online of the Empire Files as Abby Martin going around in Jerusalem, where Arabs live. And people are talking about, oh yeah, the Arab population should be obliterated and their memory erased from history. And we should never marry them because it's wrong, because they don't believe like us and they're not as human as us. There's, tours of the West Bank and Gaza where these people are literally confined to huts, and if they come out after curfew, the IDF is supposed to shoot to kill. Like, it's insane. There was a man that was executed, an unarmed Palestinian executed in the streets last year, and he was charged with manslaughter. There were protests outside the courthouse in Israel saying he shouldn't get any time because that Palestinian wasn't human. Are you kidding? This is exactly, look, again, when you've been shown this your whole life, I'm sure she does have strong feelings about Israel, and some cages need to get shook. They don't teach you this stuff in school. This has been whitewashed. I'm going to go on record now and say it. All this has been whitewashed to make Israel look good. Any way you shake it down, you can look this stuff up online. It's not hard to find. It's really not. We're giving Israel aid. They are living off of United States dollars. And they're committing these atrocities.
And aggressions. I'm going to throw that out there.
And aggressions.
It's not just domestic atrocities.
Right.
There's also external aggressions that they've taken as well.
Right. They're encroaching on the camps. They're the laws. It's an apartheid state. The laws in Israel are applied differently to Palestinians than they are to Israelis. Okay? An Israeli man, if he attacks a Palestinian man, the law can't get involved. That's why there was so much anger and outcry when the guy that executed the Palestinian was jailed for manslaughter. Now, if the role is reversed, they're supposed to shoot to kill this guy. That's what it is. They'll send out people in the night, Palestinian protesters or people that speak at dissenters against the government. They'll send a team out in the night to break into these people's houses, put a gun to their head, and wake them up. If they wake up and do anything other than surrender, which means scream, move, raise their hands, anything like that, it is immediately execution. And they get away with it because they said, "Oh, we don't know if they've got a gun or anything. They could have done anything to kill us," and they get away with it.
I'm not going to say anything about sounding familiar, but go ahead.
There was a resolution by the UN in the 40s that they still don't uphold because they tell everybody, "Hey, they can leave if they want to." Yet the United States allows them to essentially keep these people hostage. They count calories in the freaking West Bank. The food that goes in, they count everybody's calories and decide how much these people deserve to eat on a daily basis. They are treating these people like they're in concentration camps in Nazi Germany. It's complete hypocrisy. It's complete just ignoring history. It's ignoring human rights. It's some of the worst violations you can see on Earth. But we cover it up. Because if Iran's acting up, well, hey, will you guys go bomb them for us? I mean, they destroyed the Iranian science lab that was supposed to start nuclear testing. What was it, last year, the year before?
Oh, they have a bit of a history.
Oh, and there's plenty more than just that, but I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, Israel has a bit of a history breaking or violating treaties and just kind of throwing their hands in the air like, yeah, okay, sorry. And just it gets swept under the rug.
Yeah, Nikki Haley, any investigation that's been put forward to Nikki Haley up until she resigned at the end of last year was vetoed. It was vetoed at the UN resolutions. She did away with it and said, no, we're not doing that. And then they cry anti-Semitism if you say anything about it. Dude, I've got friends who are Jewish. I have nothing against Jewish people. I'm all for freedom of religion. I have Muslim friends. I am a Christian myself. But when your government commits atrocities and then tries to hide behind religion, that's not okay. As a matter of fact, it's pretty freaking evil.
Oh yeah.
And to speak out about that, because why? Because you're receiving money from the military-industrial complex. You're receiving money from AIPAC, as we've already said. There's economic benefit to be prolonging oppression in the region for these corporate Democrats and Republicans and people who aren't.
It's not. Well, let's clear that up. It's not. It's not more of a. There's economic motivation to prolong oppression. It's more of a. There's economic motivation to not do anything about it. Because how you would respond initially, and this would go for Saudi Arabia as well. We turn a blind eye to what they do, and we mentioned Khashoggi. We've done episodes on Khashoggi. You guys can go hear about that. We haven't done anything about Nikki Haley though, so I mean, you guys would have to look that up if you don't know who that is. But
she was a UN ambassador for the first 2 years of the Trump administration.
Right. But so as far as those two examples go, there's a lot of these things we turn blind eyes to that are so well known globally, and the entire community of the West, of the developed world, turns a blind eye to it because there's money to be had there, there's oil to be had there, and there's wars constantly going on there, and that means money for the West.
Well, there's American interest to be had there as far as boosting the pockets of the people that pull the strings, so to speak. But again, that doesn't make suicide bombings okay. That doesn't make terrorism okay. That doesn't make any of it okay. That doesn't give. You shouldn't go kill innocent people because of this, and I'm not in any way condoning that. But to suggest that criticism, just open mouth criticism, in we're a free nation. We're the freest nation in the world, and the more you do research on other countries, the more you'll realize how good we got it here. But to criticize this, if she didn't have the past she had as far as some of the things she said, some of the donations she's received from certain people, I don't think anybody would be saying this. or maybe they wouldn't be saying it to the degree that they are. But because of that, they're raking her over the coals for it. And on its face, this comment wasn't anti-Semitic. It wasn't. But I guess...
And again, criticism of Israel...
as a government isn't anti-Semitic.
Yeah, not at all. And the idea that there's a solution, or any solution would necessarily need to include a territory split, isn't anti-Semitic either.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get too deep into the history of it, but if you look at what Israel is now, the way it's occupied now, all of that, it was literally reversed. Everything that Palestine has now was Israel, and everything that Israel has now was Palestine. Then the UN had a resolution where they split it up, and Israel had 55%, Palestine had 45%. Well, Israel didn't like that, and they pushed it to 65%, right? And then whenever they continued to push forward, there were terrorist attacks by groups, because you got to think, there are hardened Jews coming from Germany that are coming from Europe that have, escaped concentration camps, escaped, the terrible things going on in Europe right now. They've come over, and Zionism sounds great to them, right? We're supposed to have this land? Are you kidding? Yeah, let's get them out of here. The Zionist leaders from that time were saying there is no Israel with pure Jewish citizens without expulsion or elimination of the Palestinians. And from there on, they continuously encroached. They continuously took land, more and more and more. And the UN turned a blind eye because the United States, the world's superpower, backed them at every step of the way. And there was nothing the Palestinians could do about it. So eventually, why people are suicide bombing soldiers in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip? Because they can't leave. They won't ever be able to leave. So they would rather kill themselves to try to get more attention to the situation. They would willingly give their lives to bring attention to what's going on, rather than sit there like an animal locked in a cage for the entire duration of their life. And it's just horrifying. Anytime I would completely recommend the Empire Files. Abby Martin did a whole 6 about 30-minute videos each on the history of it. She spent time in Gaza. She spent time in Jerusalem. She's done interviews with ex-IDF members that started to realize how wrong they were and turned from what they did. It's insane. But back to the point.
After everything you just said, it's not a stretch to claim something like Israel has. I mean, it's an odd use of diction, but Israel has hypnotized the world to, turn a blind eye to its evil, or however she worded it.
Right.
It's not a stretch, and it's not anti-Semitic.
Right.
It's anti-Zionist at most.
Right.
And that's that's neither here nor there.
Well, but when you've taken campaign donations from people like the Muslim Brotherhood, who have actually committed terrorist atrocities over in the Middle East, and I'm not talking about in Israel. I'm talking about...
Then attack it there.
Okay, but what
I'm saying is attack it there.
Right.
If you're going to play the anti-Semitism card, don't play it over things that are clearly, or not clearly, but aren't clearly anti-Semitic.
Right.
They're not necessarily anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
Take it at the core. When you're trying to say the reasons she's anti-Semitic are, don't say these tweets.
Right.
Say these donations.
Right. Right. No, I'm with you 1,000%, man. And I really encourage people to look up the history of the Palestine-Israel conflict and do your own research on it, because you're not going to get it if you look at CNN and Fox News and MSNBC. It's just not going to be there. You have to do your own research.
And I say make waves. I say start doing it, because if Tlaib and Omar can make these waves and get others behind them, possibly a joint response can be taken on the international level from Congress against Israel and Saudi Arabia, which is long overdue in my opinion.
I've said this once. I've said it 1,000 times. We need to get out of the Middle East. We need to pack our bags and go home, because we are only making it worse. No matter what country over there you point to, America is making it worse. They just are.
And part of it part of it would be, lowering oil dependency.
Fair enough. Do you have anything else?
Not as far as this goes, no.
All right, man. Well, I'm Trip.
And I'm Jim.
And this is Dead Center, where we try to conversate, not constant hate, and
Get to the point.
Love y'all. See y'all next time.
Peace.
Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. I'm so scared in case I fall off my chair. And I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in